Hey guys, Kevin again, this is for the first half of the season of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, and of course the mid-season finale just occurred, and I figured, since I reviewed the first episode, I might as well review the first half of the season like I did with Jane the Virgin last year, and like I'll do with other shows. Now, if you guys didn't see my review for the first episode, I really love this show. I thought it had really great potential. I was definitely really looking forward to it. And I think this is one of the few times where I really loved a pilot and it didn't let me down. There have been a lot of shows this year that have been kind of mediocre, but started off strong, then got really mediocre. And Crazy Ex-Girlfriend is definitely not one of them. And there's so many things that work so well in the show. Overall, I think this was a fantastic first half of the season. And I really felt that the episode they just left off on was probably the best one to leave off on. Not only because it was Christmas related, which we'll get into that, but also the message that the episode had. And there is quite a lot to talk about on the show. Something I do want to touch upon, though, I like on the show is that you don't have to watch every episode to understand what's going on. This is not a very serialized show. It is in terms of, certain events that happen, but it's not in terms of, just like different plots it's very much like a different plot every week. There's a continuous story, but that's something I really like. You really only have to watch a pilot and a few episodes. So I thought that was really great, but let's just get into this season. There isn't a whole lot to talk about, but there is some stuff I really love. I'm going to touch upon the things I really like the songs and the actors and things like that. Now, of course, you guys know I love the cast in this show, but something I really like they did with this first half of the season is kind of portray these characters as very flawed and show why they are the way they are, because let's face it, a lot of them you kind of saw were not the nicest of people, especially Paula, Rebecca, Greg, and Josh. All of the people we were following in this show pretty much are really not the best of people, and I think something I love about this is the way they showed why they are the way they are, especially with the characters Rebecca, Paula, and Greg, which I thought were all really well done throughout this season. Because yeah, let's face it, some of them really do not make very good decisions, especially in episode 2, which let me just say is my least favorite episode of the season, which isn't saying much because it was still a really great episode. I just felt it was the weakest of the bunch. Episode 2 revolved around Rebecca meeting Josh's girlfriend, Valencia, who is pretty hot. I will definitely say that. She is pretty hot. And Rebecca developed sort of a girl crush on her, but also a stalker sort of stuff, because obviously this is Josh's girlfriend. She wants to get all the details she can on her. And you start to see that Rebecca's kind of obsessed with her and things like that. It was very interesting what happened with that. But then we get this whole thing with us realizing that Josh is willing to cheat on Valencia to be with Rebecca, because he clearly has feelings for Rebecca in this season. I mean, there's a conversation he has with Greg all about, and it's very interesting what happens there. Valencia eventually, at first they have a good friendship, but then Valencia is scared of Rebecca pretty much, because why wouldn't you be? I mean, the way Rebecca approached her was very stalkerish, was very just out of place, and very just like, not standoffish, that's not the word, just too into her very much, and, obviously, Valencia doesn't really like her and tells Josh to stay away from her. So that basically is what happens with that. But then, like I said, you eventually see that Josh likes Rebecca, and he still kind of wants to be with her, though he's with Valencia, who Valencia is also pretty shallow, I will definitely say that. I mean, she has certain things that she wants, and she won't, let up until she gets what she wants. Like, there's an episode, last week's episode, we see that Valencia wants this house, basically. And, she wants certain things in this house because her and Josh are moving in together. She wants certain things in this house, and Josh does whatever he can to get it to her. And at no point does he think, you know what, let me not listen to you. And I think that was definitely interesting the way we saw that. The other character we get a lot with here is Paula. Paula, at first, you think is a very shallow, very bad mother because she's not looking after her kids. She's basically skipping things just because of her kids, but then you realize why. Paula is a lot more damaged than we think she is. Her husband apparently left her. Her husband left her, and her kids, she doesn't really look after them a lot because it kind of reminds her of, her husband, and I like the way they use the comedy to deepen the characters. That was something they did very well here, and I really like that. This is a very good example of doing that. But Paula does try to move on way too quickly. She meets this guy, Calvin, and they start to connect. They almost have sex, but Rebecca actually pulls her out of it, and I thought that was really great the way Rebecca did that, and essentially breaks up Paula and Calvin before anything would happen. Now, was this necessarily a good thing that Rebecca did? Yes, I think Rebecca had good intentions, but Paula clearly had a connection with Calvin. She clearly wanted to be with him, but then we saw in the finale that she really didn't, which I'll get into. I will get into the finale last, like I usually do when I talk about seasons of shows, but I really like that overall. Just seeing Rebecca step in for Paula, I thought was really great, and I definitely really like seeing that. And everything they do with Paula so far this season, I've really enjoyed. The character of Greg, I also have really loved. At first, you can see that he's a very angry bartender. There is a reason why, but you see that he also starts to develop feelings for Rebecca to the point where he wants her to just give up the fact that she likes Josh and just go to him in this great number called Settle For Me, which I loved. They really used Santino Fontana's talents to their best abilities, which I will get into when we get into the music, but I really like the character of Greg as well. The only character I didn't really get to talk about because they didn't introduce her till episode 3 was Heather. Let's get to the character of Heather. Heather's introduced in episode 3, and I loved her from the second she was introduced. Heather is the perfect example of the sarcastic, toned down, but also really hyper character. She says everything in this sarcastic voice when she really is one way, and I think she really is a great character because of that. I really love the actress on this show. She's one of the few that aren't really damaged. Heather's really not a damaged character. Neither is Daryl. Daryl's a pretty normal character as well, even though he's very awkward around certain people. You can definitely tell that, but that's one of the reasons I love Daryl as a character. I think he's very funny. The relationship he has with his daughter, I also really enjoyed. He does whatever he can to say, oh, I love my daughter, but not in a creepy way. It was very funny. I definitely really liked that, and I thought the characters overall were definitely one of the best things about the show. The ensemble as a whole I thought was really great. So like I said, there weren't too many seasonal things going on. It was definitely more of a, just like, one episode, something different would happen every episode. And I thought they did a really good job with that. Definitely some of my favorite episodes this season. I mean, every episode I think was definitely a highlight, but the one where Rebecca wanted to throw that party, I thought was a really great episode because we really got more insight into how damaged Rebecca really is. I mean, we saw that she wanted to throw this party, but her parents ended up fighting really badly to the point where her dad left them, just randomly walked out, and she hasn't seen him since, and you can definitely tell how damaged she is, and I like the way that they use certain things and actually got us to care for these characters. While this is just a fun show, they are willing to have dramatic moments. This was a very good example of that, and I really appreciate that, I have to say. I thought that was definitely something I really liked, and I thought they did a very good job with those dramatic moments, as well as the scene with Rebecca and Paula, where she pulls Paula away from Calvin. I thought that was really effective as well. I definitely really like the way they did that. Just really great emotional scenes. There's also a really great scene in Josh and I Are Good People, that episode where she wants to prove that she's a good person, where Greg basically tells her, you're not a good person. You're not a good person. You can turn into a good person, but you're not. And I think this really touched upon the fact that Rebecca doesn't, I think, understand, how crazy she is or how damaged she is. I don't really think she understands that. To Rebecca, I think she's pretty normal and that she hasn't really done anything wrong. I think deep down she knows she's doing something wrong, but she just goes to the attitude of, oh, I haven't done anything wrong. I think to just feel content with herself because she doesn't really want to be crazy, and that's why anytime someone says you're crazy, she shuts it down immediately, which I think is very interesting the way they handle that all season long so far. Anytime someone has said, you're crazy or something like that, she shuts it down because she wants to be normal, which, let's face it, there's no such thing as normal, and Rebecca clearly doesn't understand that yet, and I think that definitely is very interesting. Something else that worked so great in the show was the comedy. It was endless. It was great. Every episode, I found something hilarious about it. There were so many great jokes in all these episodes. I would be here all day if I had to name all the funny jokes in the episodes, but there were so many great jokes. I definitely really love them, and a lot of that is thanks to the songs, which is a lot of what I'm going to be talking about because, let's face it, I can't imagine how this show would be without the songs. I remember I watched the promo for this show, and I'm like, are these songs really going to fit in here? Now, I can't imagine how the show would be without the songs. The songs just add so much to the show. Not only do they help us understand the characters better, but they also just make the show so much more original, and that's something I think they did so well. The fact that they basically had a different song for every single genre of music, I really love. I mean, they really varied in terms of genres. You know, there really wasn't that consistent of a genre. There were some, but not too consistent. And I thought that was really good the way they did that. And I thought every song really was great. There were a couple songs that I wasn't a huge fan of, but I thought a lot of the songs were definitely really great. I definitely really enjoyed a lot of them, and I'll give you some examples of some things I really liked that they did. Valencia's big song, I'm So Good at Yoga. I like how that was like a Bollywood-style number, because it's kind of like Rebecca's kind of losing it, because she's seeing this girl who is clearly above her, and she kind of feels like she's making fun of her, and she feels like she's mocking her, and that's kind of why she sees it as a Bollywood musical, because it's kind of mocking how Rebecca does things. I think it definitely is very interesting the way we saw that. I know that was a very controversial number, but I think that was definitely what they were trying to say, that it was more of a mocking sort of situation, than it was making fun of Bollywood. I don't think that's what they were trying to do. But I loved Settle For Me. Settle For Me is by far one of my favorite songs of this season. They really went all out with the songs. That's something I love. The fact they went all out. They really got bigger with the production numbers. Like, they started out small, and then they got bigger and bigger. Well, of course, West Covina is not really small, but you guys know what I mean. Like, they started off very basic with every song being Rebecca. I liked how they eventually incorporated the other characters and even gave them their own songs. Like Greg's song in the Thanksgiving episode, I thought was really great. It was probably one of the funniest moments of the season, because, yeah, imagine having to stay at work when everyone's there away at Thanksgiving, and you're stuck in this, you know, job where no one is really there, and I think it's very funny the way he's singing about that, and I definitely really like that. And like I said, they really use everyone's talents to their full ability, specifically Santino Fontana, who is on Broadway. He was in, like I said, he was in Frozen. I've said this a million times, but they really use his talent very well. I was a bit worried that they weren't going to utilize his talents as well, and they really used it very, very well. I thought all of his songs were great. I thought they really used the Broadway-style stuff very, very well for him, and I definitely really enjoyed that. Donna Lynne Champlin, I think her name is, whoever plays Paula, they used her very well, too, because the thing is that she's a big singer, and her number, his status is preferred, kind of reminded me of Megan Hilty. She just has that kind of voice that sounds like Megan Hilty from Smash, and definitely gave me vibes of Ivy Lynn. And I think her song, His Status is Preferred, was really great, kind of making fun of the sexy nightclub singer, and definitely like that. Daryl's number, I love My Darn a Creep Away. I like the way he made fun of country. I love Josh's boy band number. All the songs that were great. But then you get to Rebecca's songs, and they're the truly, like, schizophrenic, crazy songs. Also, I like how they did dive into, is Rebecca really crazy, you know, in episode 7, where she goes to see, where she doesn't actually see Dr. Phil, but she's picturing herself seeing Dr. Phil, and at first she thinks she's schizophrenic, but then she realizes she's not, and I like how they showed that Rebecca's not crazy. She's just crazy in the sense that she is very fucked up, and that she's been through a lot, and she doesn't truly understand everything that she's been through, and there are a lot of things that she's doing that she might not see as bad, but to other people is really bad, and I think that definitely is very interesting the way they showed that there, and I definitely enjoyed seeing that. But then, like, her number, the French number that she did, I thought was really great. I Have Friends, I've watched that so many times, it's so great, when she invites all these people who clearly are not her friends, but she just invited them because they were weird, and I thought that was funny, the way she did that. I definitely enjoyed that, and I thought that was really great with the show, that songs like that. Yeah, there's certain songs I've just watched a lot of times. Her rap number, oh my god, I Give Good Parents. I laughed hysterically when I first saw that. It's so funny, and I love that. All the songs were very funny, and I thought they were all really great, and they really did contribute something. They did a good job with having these songs in context, and I really think this is one of the first musical TV shows to not have their musical numbers be completely out of place, because let's face it, there were times in Glee where they did that a lot, where their musical numbers are like, why did that have to be in here? This really didn't have to be here. And Smash did that as well. There were times where they didn't have to have musical numbers there, and here, I thought they did it very well. They only used them when they needed to, and when they did, they used them very, very well. And I like how they only did like 2 or 3 an episode, because you don't want to take the entire episode to do songs. If this was a Showtime show, they could do more songs, but because it's only a 45-minute show, they can only do a certain amount of songs, so I thought it was definitely very well done. I love the explicit versions as well, because obviously, like I said, this was supposed to be a Showtime show, so they did shoot the explicit versions, and I like how we would see the explicit versions, which I thought some of the clean versions were a bit better. Like, I thought the clean version of I Give Good Parents a lot better than the explicit one, but that's just me. Anyway, guys, I thought that was really great. So yeah, that's something else thought they did very well with. The screenplay for this show is just fantastic. The teleplay for this show is just really great. Everything about this show, I just really, really loved. So now I really do want to get into the mid-season finale, because there was a lot that happened in it that I definitely really enjoyed, and I thought they handled very, very well. So let's just jump right into it, because there's quite a lot to talk about. And something okay, so if you guys haven't seen the mid-season finale, it just aired, so check it out now, and then you can come back and watch the rest of this review. Okay, so I'm assuming if you're still here, you've seen the mid-season finale. What I really loved about this mid-season finale was showing how everyone growed as a character. If you think about it, a lot of them have been growing since the first episode, but I feel like this episode really showed how childish they've been. I think they really are starting to become aware of how childish they are. Specifically Josh, who, I mean, look at him in the first episode, in this episode. He's complaining about not sitting on Santa's lap, and he's really upset about it, and Greg's telling him that he's really stupid for thinking this, and him just getting to relive his childhood memories, you know, be in that dance troupe that he was in, and realizing that he really can't do it anymore because he's just an adult, and he doesn't really have the moves that he used to have, and showing that he is getting older. I think really encompassed everything that we need to see from Josh, you know, Josh's development as a character. He is a bit of a man-child, he's realizing this, and he's realizing that he does need to grow up, and he's willing to grow up, and I definitely like seeing that. And I thought they really handled that very, very well. Rebecca, I thought, was probably not the most well-handled, but I thought one of the most well-handled. All three were very well-handled, but hers was probably the most developed. First of all, I loved seeing, what's her name? Hang on one second, guys. What is her name? The girl's the woman that plays Deanna on The Walking Dead. Let me just find her name really quickly, because I really do want to credit her. Tova Feldsha. I really loved Tova Feldsha on this show. I thought she was really great, especially after Deanna dying on The Walking Dead. She did a great job on Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. I thought she did a great job here as Rebecca's mother. She was so funny, and I love it the second we were introduced to her, she was just criticizing Rebecca. Her song, Where's the Bathroom, is just perfect. It symbolized her perfectly. It was so funny, and I loved every minute of it. But then when you get to the real interesting part of Rebecca and her mom's relationship, her mom is a very disturbed individual, if you really think about it. I mean, she's lost her husband. She, her husband just left her. She's had Rebecca all her life, and she's been very, very critical and probably very damaged, just as Rebecca is. And I thought it was very interesting the way they showed that. I mean, her calling everyone a loser, probably because her mom really doesn't have any friends. And the scene where Rebecca tells her, look, you don't have any friends, you're not better than me, I thought was really great. The way that Rebecca was, you knew when Rebecca was faking her life and telling her all these things that weren't true, like, oh, I work in this law firm, I'm not actually part of this, I just volunteer at this job, I don't actually work here, Paul is British. You just knew none of it was gonna work because it all just seemed really much like bullshit. It didn't really seem true, and the thing I like the most about this is the fact that she just didn't believe these. Her mother was starting to believe them, but you knew her mother eventually wasn't going to believe them. She knew that it just didn't seem true. There was something that she was hiding. And the fact that Rebecca didn't want to tell her that Josh was there, I thought was really great. The scene where her mother realizes that she moved there for Josh. Rebecca keeps saying she didn't move there for Josh, but honestly, yeah, she did. I've said it before. She moved there because Josh is when she was happy, and she's not happy. And now she's remembering, she's just not happy. When she was with Josh, she was happy, and now she's not happy. And when her mother realizes that she moved there for Josh, I thought her mother's reaction was very interesting. Of course, at first she's really upset, but then we realize that her mother never hated her. Her mother really does love her. She's always wanted the best for her, and she's just very, very worried about her. She's always been very worried. She's just wanted the best for her. But then the fact that her mother just values work over everything else and does care about her daughter, but she just sees work and there's no time for love. Think about everything her mother's been through. She doesn't understand real love. Her husband left her. She doesn't understand how love really is. So that's why her mother doesn't support the love that Rebecca might have for Josh, or if Rebecca does find love, her mother's really never going to support it. And It's really sad to think about, but that's just how Rebecca's mother is, and I think it was very interesting the way they showed that in this episode. I definitely really love that. The scene between them at the end was just great, and when Rebecca says, I think I finally understand, I think I'm finally ready to become more of an adult, and understanding what an adult really is like, I thought was great. I definitely really like that, and I thought they handled that all very, very well. By the way, I forgot to say, I love that this was a Christmas episode, but that Christmas was kind of not the main idea. The main idea of this episode was growing up. That's what it was all about. It was all about growing up and moving forward, and I thought that was really great. The way they showed all that, I thought there was really great stuff there, and I definitely really enjoyed that. So yeah, that stuff I really liked with Rebecca and her mom, I thought was really great. I definitely really loved all of that. Now let's get to Greg's plot, which I thought was very well handled, because all season long, we've been seeing Greg, he's kind of been a dick. He's always uptight, he's always upset, you know, we've never really seen Greg not be in this bad mood. He's always kind of been very much in a bad mood. When he talks to Heather, he's telling her that, oh, my parents are really bad, and that, you know, you're expecting his parents to be pretty much like Rebecca's mother. That's what you're expecting. But then when you realize they're pretty normal, that makes sense, because Greg's really not normal. And that makes sense why he doesn't understand their normality. And I thought that was really great the way we saw that. And the way that Heather connected with his brother and sister, I thought was really great. I definitely love that, and just that scene in general, I thought was really, really great. And just seeing Heather, like, be so, like, downbeat, but actually happy. She's like, I'm so happy. Can you see the smile on my face? I thought was so funny. And that actress that plays Heather is so funny, and I thought she definitely did a very good job with that. But then you get to the real reason why Greg is so upset, because of the fact that, you know, he keeps dropping hints about his mom. We realize that he's really never gotten over the fact that his mom just packed up and left him, and he's still upset about it, and she does apologize for it, and he kind of realizes that, you know, it does make sense why she left, and that maybe he was just too much to handle, and that she's moved on to better things, and that he hasn't really. I think he's definitely understanding more of what's going on with him. I like seeing that. I thought that was really great stuff overall with Greg. And then the whole situation with Heather, this entire episode I was shipping them, and I really was like, you know what, I think these two would actually make a really great couple, because Greg needs someone like Heather. Heather really is someone that doesn't take things too seriously. She kind of just has fun with things. She's pretty normal. Not necessarily normal, but she definitely is a lot more high-spirited and a lot more happy than Greg is. And the scene where Heather basically just willing to quit her job for him, I was like, okay, this is interesting. And then when she just upright kissed him like that, I thought was hilarious. I love that. I mean, not hilarious, but I definitely really liked that. The fact that they got together, I thought was really great. And I'm assuming these two are going to get beat together now, because I really do like Heather and Greg. I think that they definitely could have some very good chemistry, and especially since I don't really think Rebecca and Greg are gonna work. I just don't think it's gonna work. I think episode 5, you know, Josh and Edgar people prove that these two really aren't gonna work as lovers, but Heather and Greg will. I thought was a really great idea. I definitely really like seeing these two together, and I think they really do have a future together. So honestly, that's something I thought they handled very, very well. And then the ending song, California Christmas Time, I thought was really, really great. They kept making fun of California at Christmas all the time, because yeah, California must be very strange at Christmas time. I mean, there's no snow, it's 100 degrees, you know, it's not cold, there's not a lot of Christmas, and I loved how Daryl was the only one in a Christmas sweater. I thought that was very funny, but then he had shorts with the Christmas sweater, just really well represented how California must be. It has to be very strange. I absolutely love that, and I thought that was the perfect ending to the episode. And also, the fact they had a full company number, I thought was great the way they did that. It feels like something we've been building up to this entire season, and that was the perfect way to end the season. I cannot wait till this show comes back. Overall, guys, I have loved every minute of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, besides episode 2, which I didn't think was good. I just didn't think it was great. Overall, I have loved every minute of it. And by the way, guys, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend will definitely be on my top 20 shows of 2015 for sure. I definitely really loved it. I personally think it's better than Jane the Virgin. And not that Jane the Virgin has been bad this season, just it definitely is a step down from season 1. We'll get into that next, in 2 weeks when we get to the Jane the Virgin mid-season finale. But I definitely really enjoyed Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. I think it's been a really great show overall. Also, the intro. I have to talk about the intro. I never talked about the intro, but the intro is so great for this show. I love the intro. It really represents everything that has to Rebecca perfectly. The way that she sees things in this weird world, I just thought was great. And the second I saw that intro, I'm like, that is awesome. I love it. And every time it comes on, I think it's just great. But overall, guys, let me know what your thoughts on the first half of the season of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend is. I can't wait for the second half. I know it's going to be really great. January 15th, I believe, is when they said it's coming back, so that's not too long of a wait. But I'm definitely looking forward to the rest of this season. It's been a really great season so far. Let me know what you guys thought of this entire season. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. That's basically this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for tonight's episode of Fargo, which obviously I'm pumped out of my mind to review, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.